Hey, and welcome to the Joie Miller podcast. I'm so glad that you're tuning in today because we are talking about living on purpose, building a life with intention, not just drifting through life, but being intentional about how we have designed our life and what we see in the future. And when you do this, it will actually help you to live the life that you love. I love the phrase, create the life that you love. It's kind of like my catch phrase. And this is something I'm very passionate about. And this first step in creating a life that you love is knowing where you're going and then developing a strategy around that life. And then you will see goals accomplished. You'll see things start to happen in your life that maybe before was just an intention or a hope or a wish that will actually start to unfold in your life. God doesn't want you to look back on your life and be like, oh, it was all right. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. He wants you to be purposeful with the life that He has given you. Life is a gift. Every day that you have on earth is a gift. Your family is a gift. Your ministry or your career is a gift to you. And what you do with it, it matters. And so today we're going to talk about that. And I want you to understand that you don't have to just float through life, that you can live by design. If you don't build your life on purpose, you will live it by default. If you don't live your life on purpose, if you don't build it on purpose, you will live your life on default. What does that mean? It means that you will spend your days and you will look back and be like, what did I even accomplish today? What did I even accomplish this week? Did I move forward in any of the goals that I have? And so don't just drift. Don't live on default mode, but structure your life for success. And when I say success, I'm not talking about just becoming like good at what you do. I'm talking about whatever that thing is that you have defined as success in your life. For some of you, success is a happy family. For some of you, it is, getting your life in order and being able to do all the things that you want to do, maybe financially. Some of you, success is getting married. Whatever success means to you, defining that clearly so that then you can start to structure and build your life with a strategy around it. Strategy is a great word. Oftentimes we think strategy is just in the business realm, but strategy is actually a spiritual principle. When I think about strategy, I think about the Proverbs 31 woman. She was strategic. She was doing all the things because she knew what was important to her. She knew what she needed to do, how she needed to show up to create the life that she loved and the life that she wanted to live. So my question to you today, as we dive into this podcast, is, are you living on default? Are you letting life just happen to you? Are you letting your time just disappear because you're not really sure how you spent your day? Have you been just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling on social media because you don't have a strategy for your life, so you don't even know how to take the next step forward? Today, we're going to change that. We're going to strategize to build a life by design on purpose. All right, so as we dive in today, I want to talk about the word clarity. Point number one is clarity comes before strategy. Clarity comes before strategy. And we've talked about getting a vision for your life. If you missed the podcast, go back and listen to a podcast on getting vision. But you have to get clear about what you would define as a beautiful life. And I say oftentimes when you're comes to getting a vision for your life, start with the end in mind. Maybe you were listening and you're like, I don't even know how to define success in my life. Start with what if you were at the end of your life and you got like a picture of what your life was as success, what would it look like? I have one picture in my head when it comes to success. I picture my husband and I, being well along in years, and we are surrounded by our family at Christmas. That's just the picture I always go to, like our kids, our grandkids, our great grandkids, with a beautiful tree, just enjoying each other, enjoying life, and that's my vision for life. So that's success to me. So everything that I do is to build to that moment. The huge mistake that we make is a lot of times we'll have that vision But then we don't do anything to invest into that vision along the way. We just think like, poof, it's just automatically going to happen. We're just automatically going to be like a close family. And you learn really quickly that nothing good happens on accident. Everything good happens because there's been an intentional investment made into it. And if you're not clear about what that is, how can you intentionally invest in it? And so clarity gives you a clear picture on how to build your life. It helps you to organize the chaos of everyday life so that you're going in a direction towards a wanted end result. And so when you understand that, you say, wait, you mean that then I can actually determine some things in my life? Yes, like you are not powerless. If you want a good family, you can create and craft a strategy so that you're having family time, so that you're creating memories, so that you're making traditions that will be a framework for your family. And so, don't buy into the lie that sarah, whatever's just going to be is going to be. No, say, I have a role to play in this, and I am not just going to let life happen. I'm going to go after the things that are important to me. But it starts with getting a vision for that. The Bible says in Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision and make it plain. We talk about writing visions, but I want to talk about the plain part. Make it simple. What I just shared with you of a vision that I have for my life that would define success, it's not overcomplicated. It's literally a holiday dinner. And so, make that vision plain. Think about what is plain. What is not even like complicated and all the details, just what is a plain vision that would make your heart happy? And because if you can't define it plainly, then you'll get caught up in the details of it. So let me ask you some questions. What kind of life are you actually trying to build? That would be a good question to answer. And it'll be a driver for your decisions and your structure and your strategy. What kind of life am I actually trying to build? Next question is, what matters most in this current season? Because seasons are going to change. Your priorities are going to change in different seasons. What matters most in the current season that you are in? And I caught this wrong sometimes. When my kids were little, I would get frustrated because I knew where I wanted to go, and I knew what God had for my life, and I knew the vision for ministry, and I felt the call on my life. But I didn't recognize the current season and its priorities. And so I would almost look at what was going on in the current season as like a bother or a sidetrack, or I just have to do this to get through, instead of understanding that there was a beauty in that current season. Because here's the thing about building with God is he's always doing something in the season that's going to serve a purpose in the next season. It's not random. Your life is not random. The question is if you are going to have a strategy to maximize every season towards the end result, or if you're just going to like drift through life. And so, I learned to recognize the seasons that I was in the priorities of what was needed of me in those current seasons. A few years ago, my dad was in a season, he's since passed away, where he wasn't doing well in his health. And so my priority in that season became taking care of him over anything else, even for a short time. Like even family at home, I would have to take care of my father, and my husband would help with household chores and things like that. But it was a priority in that season. And what I was able to do was I was saying, you know what, I'm in this season where I'm taking care of my father, recognizing the priority. It's speaking things to my children. It's speaking that our mom, yeah, maybe we want her at home making dinner for us, but it was saying her value is for family. Her value is to take care of her father. What was I doing? I was sowing a seed for the end result of where I wanted my life to go strategically, authentically, but strategically, knowing that my children were seeing modeled out that family was a value to me and a priority to me. What is that doing? That's going to come back around and serve the structure of what is success to me, which is a strong family who loves the Lord with all their hearts. It was sowing into that value. And so being clear about the priorities that you have in this season. Another question is, what is God asking of you. Not, not what Instagram is saying that you should be doing, not what culture is saying is success, or the average, stay-at-home mom at the time. What is God asking of you in this season? And that's a really good question, because if you're going to build something with God's grace, it's because he has actually called you to it. Many times in seasons, I've tried to do things because somebody else was doing it, and it wasn't my season. There wasn't a grace on it, and I became very frustrated in life rather than enjoying it. I became frustrated out of the season that I was in. So answer these questions, because clarity, it does two things. It creates confidence in us, that when we're clear about a season, I'm confident in that season. I was confident in the season that I was taking care of my dad, that I was doing what I needed to do in that season. I'm very confident in the season that I'm in right now. I have teenagers, and their schedules with sports and different things, it's a little bit chaotic, but I am confident because I know I'm right where I need to be in this season. I'm enjoying this season. I'm still operating in the ministry, but guess what? I'm able to recognize God's hand in the now because I understand what God is asking me to do in this season. So, if for some reason I get called out to travel, I'm very confident in the engagements that I accept because I know my kids need me in this season. So it just creates a confidence that I'm not second guessing. I'm not like, did God forget about me? I'm like, no, whatever God puts in front of me in this season, there is a reason for it, and I need to be confident in that. Another thing it does is it creates obedience. How can you be obedient if you don't know what you're supposed to do in a season? And so getting that clarity from God. Habakkuk said, write the vision and make it plain. Many times the problem is we don't ask. We're not asking him for the vision. We think he's just going to make it happen. And God is a sovereign God, but he works with us. He works with us to see his plan come to pass. So when you take time to say, God, what is it that you have purposed me on this earth to do in this season and ultimately, and how can I be obedient to what's next in my life? And I love the phrase that you don't have to know everything. You just have to know the next right step to take. And that's what clarity does. Oftentimes the Lord will lead you by just the next right step that you say yes to, that you're obedient to. Do you know that you are God's masterpiece, that you're created on purpose for a purpose? I want to invite you to take the journey of discovering what God's plan and purpose is for your life and to start to execute it and see things come to pass like never before. Go to joiemiller.co and you could put in the code that I have a 15% discount for those who are listening to the podcast today, and get your copy of Masterpiece to start your 6-week journey to walking in God's purpose and plan for your life. All right, point number 2 is this: strategy is spiritual. You might say, how is it spiritual? It's just about the CEOs. And I used to think that. I used to think, well, I'm not a businesswoman. Why am I talking about goals and strategy? And then I started to look at my life as if I were the CEO of it, because I am. Obviously, God's in charge, but I'm in charge of my life. There's a responsibility that I have, and that's actually very encouraging when you start to think about it. Jesus was strategic in his life. Whenever there is a purpose behind your life, you will have to define your priorities. And so, believing that our purpose is given to us from God, we are responsible to create priorities around that purpose. Jesus did this. Think about this. There was not a shortage of need. Crowds were following Jesus everywhere. He had to prioritize where he went. He had to prioritize how much time he spent in a certain location. In fact, he wasn't able to minister to everybody in the crowd. There were only a few people that the Bible highlights. I'm sure there were more, but certainly not all of them, that he was able to minister to in the Bible. He didn't say yes to every need or every request. There were things that Jesus had to prioritize because he was mission focused. And purpose, like I said before, requires prioritization of what matters. You can't do everything and still do what matters most. And in fact, Luke 14:28 talks about counting the cost before building. Counting the cost before building. And that means that you don't just hope that your life works out. It doesn't mean that you just let things just unfold. It means that you design it intentionally. And so, whenever you're designing intentionally, you need three things. You need, number one, you need to define your priorities, not 15 things. What 3 to 5 things matter most in this season of your life? You need to clearly define what those priorities look like. Maybe it's growing in your faith. Maybe it is investing into your family. Maybe it's your health. And here's what I find too. Life isn't stagnant, meaning like when I structure things or strategize, it's not like I just put it there and it stays there. Don't you wish like, I got my health in line, I'm going to shelf it, it's good. My family, we all love each other, I'm going to put it on a shelf. No, it's a moving organism. Like your life is constantly moving, and what worked in one season might not work in the next, and your family might need something else in this season than that. And it's constantly moving and feeling and understanding what's working and not, but it's defined by those main priorities in your life. If everything is important, then nothing is important. All right, number 2 is this. 3 things you need to live your life on purpose and have a strategy. Number 1 was creating priorities. Number 2 is your time strategy. I want to remind you that your time might not be a problem. It's your priorities that maybe are left undefined that becomes the problem. So many times people say, I don't have enough time. We all have the same 24 hours in our day. Are you being strategic? Do you have a strategy for your time? Are you time blocking? How much time are you actually spending scrolling on Instagram or watching TV? Taking a time audit and keeping track of how much time you're spending on those things. Just like if you went to a dietitian and said, I don't know why I'm not losing weight. Like, I feel like I'm eating healthy. Well, she's going to tell you, audit your food. Keep a log of what you're eating, how many calories it is. Whenever somebody would tell me to do that, I would be shocked. I was like, well, why does it feel like I'm hungry all day and I'm actually eating like a lot of calories? Until I have an awareness of it, I don't realize what I'm doing that could actually serve me better if I did it a different way. And that's how it is with your time. So maybe write down those things. What am I wasting time on? Whenever you become strategic with your time, it will feel like your time is multiplied in your life. You'll be like, where did all this time come from? It's because you've learned to have a strategy surrounding your time. Ask yourself this question. Does my schedule reflect what I say matters most? Does my schedule reflect what I say matters most? This is where I love my Joie Miller planner, because every day it has a top 3 priorities per day on that planner. And so it keeps me focused on what the priority is, not only for that month, for that week, but for that day. It's the top 3 priorities for that day. And so that helps me when I'm scheduling or making decisions, what has to get done, what's important that day. And so, that could be anything from, texting my adult children to, making an Instagram post to, reaching out to this person, whatever the top 3 is for that day. And so then I can make sure it's fitting into my calendar, and I can put a little check mark upon it, and I'm strategically building my week so that I am strategically having the things come to pass in the month that I want, and that plays into the year, and then it builds upon the life and the strategies for living to actually make progress in your life. So is your schedule reflect what matters most, or does it reflect whatever you're reacting to? Now, trust me, I know there's going to be days. There's days that I'm like, well, that day is shot. You get a call from your kids that you need them picked up from school, or you have an unexpected appointment that comes up. But most of all, you don't want your schedule to be a schedule of reaction. Like, I have to do this person needed me, that person needed me. You want it to be priority based. And so understanding that creating systems creates capacity. When you have a strategy, all of a sudden you have more time than that you thought that you do. Your calendar, I want you to hear this, is actually a spiritual document. It's representing this gift of life that you have and what you're doing with your time. Do it wisely. Use it wisely. All right. So your boundaries, number 3. You have to create boundaries in your life. And so maybe you don't need, um, uh, more time, but you need a stronger no. No, no is a complete sentence. We say it all the time around here. And so, everything that you do costs you something. Every yes that you have costs you something. When you're saying yes to everybody else's needs, you're saying no to maybe some of the things that are priorities to you. When you're saying yes to a random person, maybe at your church, if you're in ministry, you're saying no to somebody in your family maybe that needs you in that moment. So having clear boundaries around your life, and that doesn't mean that you have to say no. That doesn't mean that you put up walls. That doesn't mean that a boundary is just an excuse to not show up for people in your life the way that you need to. It's saying, these are my priorities and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be able to give myself permission to say no to anything that's outside of my priorities in this season. Remember that it gives you clarity. It gives you a ability to be obedient to what God has asked you to do in that moment. So remember, boundaries aren't selfish, but they're strategic in living and building the life that you want and that you love. Jesus often had boundaries. I mean, my goodness, like Jesus was amazing. It is amazing, but when he was on earth, he was amazing. He wanted to minister to people, but he still had boundaries. There were times where he withdrew. He said, "Okay, enough for today." The disciples would be like, "Where'd Jesus go?" He disappeared. They'd have to go find him because he set a boundary. He was like, "Okay, that's it for today. Now I'm going to go withdraw and do what I have prioritized to do today." So don't feel guilty about setting boundaries. If you say yes to everybody, you're going to be saying no to the important things in your life. All right. So next point is this: stop drifting and start deciding. Stop drifting and stop deciding. Most people aren't living intentionally on purpose, right? They're just drifting in the wrong direction. And so maybe you wake up, you check your phone, you react to everyone else's needs in life, and then you wonder why you feel behind. You wonder why you're always feeling less than. You wonder why you're not making any progress in your life, and you feel down on yourself. It's because maybe you've been drifting instead of deciding about what you want in your life. And that comes down to getting that clarity and then having a discipline to execute the strategy that you come up with in your life. And so be disciplined about your calendar, be disciplined about your priorities, be disciplined about the vision that God has given you for your life, because I truly believe that it comes from him. And when he gives us something, he has full intention to bring it to pass. It's just if we are cooperating with him in the plan ahead. So instead of asking, what do I have to do today? Start asking, what kind of life am I building, and what is required of me today that is going to support that vision? And you're going to see that you're not just going to be reacting to life, but you're going to be leading your life. You're going to be intentional about your life. You're not just going to be busy doing a million different things, that you're going to see progress. You're going to see your goals accomplished. You're going to actually think about what you're doing with your everyday. And then you're going to feel like, I'm not overwhelmed. I'm actually in alignment with where God has me in this season of my life. And if you want to live overwhelmed, just live without strategy. Just add to the chaos. But if you want to live in peace and alignment with God, create a strategy over your life. Well, let's land here with the topic of grace and discipline. And you might be listening today and you're like, yeah, I don't even know how to get a strategy for my life. I want you to walk away from this podcast actually feeling empowered, not like overwhelmed, like my life is sucky, it's never going to be good, I can't do anything. No, I want you to feel empowered, that you're not just drifting anymore. You're not just giving over to whatever happens today, but you're living with intention. All right, so I want you to think about the word discipline. Being a disciplined follower of Christ, that you are going to be a person who operates in discipline, that you're going to have a disciplined mind. step one is just being disciplined enough to stop and get clarity over what you want your life to look like. And then discipline to create a strategy, goals, plans to execute that daily. And use your planner, use the check marks. I say it's like Joey telling Joey what to do every day. It's Joey saying, this is what we need to accomplish today. And then me being disciplined enough to just do what is in there as long as in my power to do it. Like if something happens and I can't do it, I just put an arrow to the next day. There's grace in it. There's grace of God in your planning process. There's grace in the disciplines that you have daily. So I love to use this phrase, let discipline decide. Not your mood, not your feelings, not your fears, but to let discipline decide in the daily moments. So let me leave you with this today, that you're going to build a life that you admire, and it is not because of anything great that you have done, but it is because God is at work in you. You're going to build a life that you admire, that you would see it from afar and be like, yeah, that's the life that I want. And God's going to give you a game plan. He's going to give you a structure. He's going to give you a strategy to see it come to pass in your life. And there might be some turbulence along the way. There might be some times that you feel like is a setback. But like I said before, when you build with God, He always builds up and He always moves you forward. No matter what the now looks like, you're moving towards an end goal with Him. So take some time, think about that. What do I want my life to look like? What are my priorities in this season? What is God asking me to do in this season? And then structure your life around it. Get a divine strategy from Him. And I can't wait to hear your testimonies. Put in the comments maybe some ways that you structure your life or some strategy that you have around family or finances. Stop looking at your life as just something that you drift through, and start saying, I'm the CEO of my life. God's in control, but I have a part to play here. Start to look at your family like a business organization. What areas are out of whack? What areas need attention? Maybe there's some management that needs to happen in the area of your home. Develop divine strategy. It's biblical. It's spiritual. Until next time, I'll see you on the Joie Miller podcast.